A report came out today that the New York Mets, along with other teams, have interest in reliever Liam Hendriks. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I believe the New York Mets should sign Liam Hendriks and all the good things he could bring to this team to really help them out and take them to the next level, because that's where the Mets are trying to go. Cohen's had World Series 3 to 5 years. If you want to win a World Series, having a really good bullpen would definitely help you out with that. And the Mets have needed bullpen help. But before we talk about Liam Hendriks, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for all the support. I got lately asked to hit 500 subscribers. We did that, so on to 500 more, getting close to 600. So I really appreciate everybody that's been watching and liking and commenting and subscribing. All that is really great. You know, we're averaging around 2,000 views last couple of videos. So if you're watching and you want to subscribe, go ahead. It makes my day. And it's a nice gesture. So let's talk about Liam Hendriks. But first, analyzing this free agent class, Liam Hendriks is one of the guys that really stood out to me because he is such a good reliever. I mean, you can make the case that he maybe is the best reliever in all of baseball. This year in the shortened season, Liam Hendriks had a 1.78 ERA, and last year in the full season, he had a 1.80 ERA. So back-to-back, just crazy years from Liam Hendriks, which is definitely very difficult to do for relief pitchers. We know that someone like Edwin Diaz or other relievers will have these crazy good years, and then the next year, they're not any good. But Liam Hendriks back-to-back dominant years, and in the postseason, when the Oakland Athletics were facing the Chicago White Sox, Liam Hendriks was lights out again, going multiple innings. I mean, throwing way more pitches than he normally does, and still was effective, and was pretty much one of the only pitchers the Athletics felt they could really trust and count on. So it gives you an idea of just how good Liam Hendriks is and how much he could help the team. When the Mets were in the World Series in 2015, one of the main reasons why they lost was the bullpen. The games that Familia and some of the other relievers blew during the World Series, one of the main reasons why the Mets could not win. So ever since then, bullpen has definitely been a need, and they've done little moves here and there, but nothing really too substantial. And the good thing about this Mets team is obviously new ownership, so you know they're going to spend more money, but the fact that you already have Trevor May, like, that's a really good sign, because if you get May and Hendriks, all of a sudden your bullpen is really getting somewhere. To go along with that, if you add to your starting rotation or have Lugo in the rotation until Syndergaard comes back and you put Seth Lugo back in the bullpen, if you have a back end of the bullpen of Trevor May, Edwin Diaz, Seth Lugo, and Liam Hendriks, wow, you could finally say the Mets have a good bullpen, which, like, saying it, like, I almost choked on the words because it's so unbelievable because of how much I've complained and said how bad the Mets bullpen has been in previous years. So just knowing that somebody like Liam Hendriks is on the Mets radar is very encouraging to me, because I was thinking, you know, maybe once the Mets sign Trevor May, that might be all they do for the bullpen because they have other needs, which was catcher. Mets took care of that with James McCann, and it looks like they're moving on to Springer or Bauer or other starting pitchers. So you're like, okay, well, are they still really going to address the bullpen? And they still might. You know, that definitely is a possibility. And what I like about having, you know, at least 4 really good relievers is the fact that somebody like Noah Syndergaard, who I call 5-inning Noah, he could get away with it, because my critique with Noah has always been, okay, Noah could go 5 innings, 1 run, no runs. You're like, oh, well, look at his ERA, look at his whip, look at how many hits he's giving up. That's a really good numbers. But then I say, for the Mets, it doesn't work, because 5 innings, meaning 4 innings of Mets bullpen, the Mets are probably going to lose that game. They just can't rely on their bullpen that much. But if Noah gives you 5 great innings, and then you could go to Trevor May, and then you could go to Edwin Diaz, or you can go to Lugo, or go to Hendriks, whatever order you want to do, the Mets are going to win. So the fact that it completely changes the blueprint, Jacob deGrom doesn't have to go as deep into games, and the Mets just don't have to ask that much more out of their starting pitchers. So you could rest some of these guys and not try to push them when they really can't, because that's a thing you see some starting pitchers where they're going really well, and then you're trying to push them. And once you start to push the starting pitcher, they kind of lose their effectiveness, and then all of a sudden you got to take them out. So you wouldn't have to worry about that as much, because you're like, okay, well, you know what? We got what we could out of the starting pitcher. Now we could go to our solid bullpen. Having a really good bullpen is a great recipe for success. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why Tampa Bay has been so successful. Even though Tampa Bay had 3 really good starting pitchers, they also had a good bullpen to go along with it, so that Charlie Morton or Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell didn't have to pitch that deep into games, even though Blake Snell probably should have in his last outing. But still, just having that big-time bullpen, it really helps out your starting. All in all, if the Mets could eventually get Springer, and if it's not Bauer, some other starting pitchers, or Rizzi or Tanaka or whoever, and then get Liam Hendriks, I would say that is quite the offseason for the New York Mets. If you told me in the offseason that the New York Mets are going to re-sign Marcus Stroman, sign Trevor May, sign James McCann, sign George Springer, sign a starting pitcher, and sign Liam Hendriks, I would say, wow, that is a really good offseason in Steve Cohen's first offseason as the member of the New York Mets owner. So I would definitely be very happy with that. Ever since Liam Hendriks' contract expired, he's someone I really wanted to see on the New York Mets, because I know how good he is. I know how much he could help this team. And again, just the value of having a good bullpen, something the Mets could really use. And just the fact that the Mets still have interest in him definitely makes me very excited, and I hope they sign him. I personally believe the way that Liam Hendriks gets on this team is if the Mets only get one of the Springer / Bauer combination, because I just think that that is quite a lot of money you're spending if you do get Springer and Bauer and then Hendriks. And you're saying, oh, but Steve Cohen has so much money. Why would you do that? Well, depending on how the numbers look for Bauer and Springer, we don't know exactly how close the Mets are going to be to the luxury tax threshold. And then if you sign Liam Hendriks, you're going to lose some flexibility with your payroll and guys you could get. Don't forget the players the Mets have to extend their contracts. Guys like Conforto and Noah Syndergaard perhaps, and Alonso and McNeil, maybe even Tom Smith, whoever it is. Eventually the Mets could have a very, very high payroll, and it would be even harder to get outside talent or make trades or do other things. Similar to what I said about James McCann, you got to think about the big picture. You have to think about long term, because it's easy to say, just sign all the free agents. Who cares? We have the money. Let's go and win. But when you think long term, it's like, okay, but what if that hurts you not being able to retain Michael Conforto or retain Jeff McNeil or some of these other players, or not being able to sign someone next offseason? We don't know what next year's free agent class may be like. We know there's a lot of really good shortstops out there. So if the Mets were to get everybody this offseason, then they can't get Carlos Correa or Trevor Story next offseason. You know, it would just hurt you going forward. So you don't want to put yourself in bad situations with too many big contracts that all of a sudden, you know, some of these players don't work out and then there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck with them, just like the Mets are stuck with Cano. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until the next one, be safe, be smart, be healthy, and let's go Mets.